I think some of the things I would work at when I'm working with people that have been in situations, families like this, I call this being your own safe space. And I just call it that, because there is a lot of talk around safe spaces at the moment. It's a very controversial subject. Personally, I see nothing wrong with safe spaces. I don't particularly like the term, but the concept, not necessarily a bad idea, but only in the sense that sometimes we just need somewhere quiet to gather our thoughts. We don't need someone to give us their therapy dog or their cuddly toy or something and tell us it's all right, things will be fine. No, we need a space to gather our thoughts, catch our breath. Safe space, not necessarily a bad thing. But in order to become your own safe space, you need a level of confidence, which is something narcissistic people struggle with in others. They would say about, being overly confident. No, that's not. That's arrogance. That's different. It's arrogance. Confidence, if you will, it's like a state of mind. Confidence is not running about the place like a Marvel superhero. Not at all. Confident people are frightened. Confident people mess up. Confident people do not know everything. They feel anxious. But they're also aware of things like their skills, their experience, their resources. They also know areas where they struggle, where they might need a bit of help. So you need a healthy level of confidence. You also need a healthy level of resilience. A lot of people talk about resilience as this, you just keep on bouncing back from whatever. That's only part of it. Resilience is recognizing your own resourcefulness. It's recognizing and developing the ability to navigate through and around problems, to be able to put things into context, to be able to prioritize, to be able to draw on and utilize the support network around you. Because remember, confident people can't do everything. There's humility. With narcissism, we see a lack of humility. Humility, by the way, is not trailing your knuckles on the floor behind you saying, I'm crap at everything. That's not humility. Humility is recognizing there are some things we cannot do, some things we do not know. Other people have different skills. Other people may be more competent in some areas. That does not make them better than me. It just means they're better at what they do. I think it's interesting as well. You look at the 5-factor model of personality. You see, openness, conscientiousness, there's extroversion, agreeableness, neuroticism. That 5-factor model's been around for a while. Probably been around as long as me, probably. It's been around for a while. I think it's interesting that recently there's been a bit of work looking at introducing a 6th element, a 6th part to the 5-factor model. There we go. And that is humility. How high or low are you in traits of humility? And the last thing you need is courage. Now, the courage to take risks. Always careful when I say that. When I say take risks, I do not mean put on a cape and go out and fight crime, do something reckless. I don't mean that. Safe, measured risks, courage to do that. A lot of people have been abused, been in families, they've been stifled, they've been, smothered, if you will. Everything they do is wrong. They become very risk averse. Small, little, comfortable risks. In order to have courage, by the way, you can't have courage unless you feel fear in the first place. You have to be afraid in order to have courage. And where do you get your courage from? You get your courage from facing the things you're uncomfortable with. Facing the things that frighten you. As I say, not something stupid like shark wrestling. No. In small, little, measured ways, you take small, little, measured risks. You pay attention as you go. The more you face the things you're uncomfortable with, that could be asserting your boundaries, that could be standing up for yourself, that could be speaking your mind, it could be whatever it is, doing something in your own interest. you start to notice, for want of a better term, your comfort zone starts to widen. You become a little more confident and a little more courageous, a little more resilient. They are the 4 things. I wouldn't say that's all you need. And I'm not saying the answer is easy, you just go ahead and do them. But a lot of the time, when someone has grown up in an environment like that, they've been in an environment like that, these are the things that are lacking. These are the things that are missing. They weren't learned at an early age. That doesn't mean you can't learn them today. It doesn't mean you can't learn them tomorrow. The other thing we would think of, again, especially with narcissism, we're looking at things like instant gratification, a quick fix. There is no therapist in the world. There is no coach. There is no YouTube video. There is no soundbite that will give you the right combination of words that just makes everything fall into place. It doesn't happen. These things take work. They take facing some things we would rather not have to face. Difficult is not the same as impossible. Not now is not the same as not ever. We start to look at those kind of things. So to come out of those kind of environments, relationships, family systems, I believe these are the things that we're looking to develop in order to help us move forward. And the last thing I will say comes from one of the best books ever written. If you haven't read it, at least watch one of the movies. There's a dozen of them. Count of Monte Cristo. You know the story of the Count of Monte Cristo? Young Edmond Dantes ends up in the Chateau d'If. He's there for about 13, 14 years, something like that. His only crime, I suppose you would say, would be naivety. But he was really in prison due to other people's envy and because he was an inconvenience to them. So he spends all that time in prison, and while he's in the prison, he's planning to escape. He meets a guy next to him in the cell next to him, the Abbé Faria, and they're digging their wee tunnel and stuff. Just prior to his escape, he says to Edmund, "Do not commit the crime for which you now serve the sentence. Go out, live your best life, do what you can. There's a ton of money there, the treasure on Monte Cristo, But do not commit the crime for which you now serve the sentence." In a long-term, abusive, manipulative, coercive environment, relationship, situation, family of origin, whatever it was, going back to earlier, we need some sense of justice, some sense of revenge. Well, what I would suggest to you is, if you're free from something like that, if you get out of something like that, you're already the bad guy. You're already the villain. Just don't be the villain to say you are. You're the bad guy for saying no. You're the bad guy for doing things in your own best interest. You're a bad guy for not colluding with the fantasy. Be the bad guy. Remember, every billionaire megalomaniac trying to take over the world, James Bond is the bad guy, So go ahead, be the bad guy. Just don't be the bad guy they say, or you do not become the very thing you're accused of being. And you're often accused of being the very things they do.